All right. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Excellent. I'm thrilled to be here. Steve, thank you, man. Hard act to follow. I love the continuous integration, continuous development movie that we started off with. Again, I can't follow a circled 8-track race. But I think what's appropriate is I've got a lot of passion around performance engineering and the topics that I'm going to be talking about this morning with you. So to get started, if you go out to my Twitter account, you'll see that right up at the top, I have precision, accuracy, and speed. That is kind of what I live and die by, it seems to be. So I'll start with a really brief story. I am very mechanically inclined and very logically inclined. And I'm hoping that by a show of hands, I'm surrounded by fellow peers that are also mechanically and logically inclined. A lot of people. Excellent. So as a result, I do a lot of my own car work. And I just got done replacing all the brakes in my car. I also got done replacing all of the suspension in my car. Well, the challenge with that was I had to take it to somebody to have it aligned. So this past weekend, I'm driving up to the Finger Lakes region in New York. Absolutely gorgeous this time of year. The fall leaves are turning, everything else. However, I get about 200 miles into my trip and I hear a thud, thud, thud. Would you believe one of my control arms, the bolt, came halfway out. So as I'm going up I-15 at the legal speed limit of 65 miles an hour, I hear thud, thud, thud. My two little girls are in the back seat saying, "Daddy, what is that noise?" I said, "I don't know, but I could only imagine." So needless to say, luckily 2 miles up the road, I had the next exit. I pull over. Now you're probably all sitting in the audience saying, "Man, what the hell is Todd talking about and where is he going?" So as a performance engineer, what I'm thinking about is, what is the diagnosis? What is it that I'm hearing? And again, I don't have a fun dashboard in front of me. I don't have anything I can click on to do more analysis. But I have a flashlight, and I can climb under my truck and start looking around. So I do my analysis, and I find this control arm with the missing bolt. I believe that we need to have more of this type of thinking, more of this type of inclination as to, well, what is the problem? Let me search through this system of my vehicle to find that needle in the haystack. We've all been there. So what I wanted to do, and I don't know if Mike is in the audience, but I wanted to throw back to him and having my prepared notes and sharing this, one of the sessions I've enjoyed the most before. So you can see what I'm going to talk about. What I had the opportunity to do at HP this year was to sponsor a survey of performance engineering in 2015. I wanted to understand a little bit more about what are people thinking about performance engineering? What is performance engineering? So I'm going to briefly share with you some of the findings. You will see my Twitter account here. It's @perf-eng, so Application Performance Engineer. Look forward to having a conversation with you. I am from the Philadelphia area, so I thought only appropriate to call this We the People. So we, the people, through this survey have spoken, and I think that we, all of us in this room, we can do much better. And again, some of this being based on these results. I'm not going to bore everybody in the room with what is performance engineering. However, the next speaker is Brian Lies. He and I had an interesting conversation over breakfast, and I helped him to understand a little bit about, what is performance engineering and how does it work. But it's a continuous activity. This is something that culturally we need to have built in across all of our organizations. It's not one person. It's not one team. Another person at the table this morning said, "Oh, yeah, we've got a performance engineering team. They're the go-to guys. Those are the people that when you've got a problem, you pull them in." I said, "Right." And when I was on that team, I had nothing to do but fight fires. What is it that we're doing to be proactive? How can we get predictive in the nature of performance engineering? Some of the organizations that I have the opportunity to work with today, they've gone to this predictive analytics, predictive performance engineering. What does that mean to them? They want to know that as they come up with a story, they come up with a feature request, what is the likelihood that that's going to cause a defect in production? So that's what we're talking about when we think about predictive performance engineering. As we move through, and again, I had to find a picture that just spoke to me, so hopefully it speaks to you as well. How others see you is not important. It's how you see yourself that means everything. So I think there's some value in that. And again, looking, thinking, understanding. But the 4 points that I wanted to talk to you about around performance engineering, and this really came out loud and clear in the survey, is there's 4 things thinking about brand first. So what is the impact to your brand when something as simple as your website has an outage, or maybe it's just slow? What's the impact to the brand? And again, we all have different ways that we can calculate that, but what does it mean to you? What does it mean to your organization? How about revenue? Again, I am a huge supporter of open source, but at the end of the day, there's revenue associated with it. I'm reading on the front page of the news journal this morning that, huge acquisitions happening. Again, revenue. What is revenue? How does it relate to performance engineering, customers? One of the things I love is, performance engineering is really thinking about your end user and designing, whether it's an application, a product, a service, all of these for your end users. But again, that customer, whether it's acquisition, what does it cost you to acquire a new customer? Do you know? Do you know how many you lose when your website's slow, when your app just fails? I have had these numbers from my previous employers. I help our customers today with this. And then acquiring new customers. And again, we've all seen it on the App Store and everything else. I'm not going to rehash what we've already talked about. The last one here, competitive advantage, though. So when I think of competitive advantage, I think of speed to market. There was a company who very early on was able to do remote check capture, to deposit them into a bank. It was USAA. They were ahead of the game by years. Well, that was a competitive advantage for them. However, it's now a feature that everybody has. But think about your organization. Think about some of the new features that you're working on. Think about your environment. What is it that you can do to be different and competitive? I would suggest that by practices of performance engineering, it's going to help you get there faster and better, again, for your end user. So let me get into the survey a little bit. So again, this was a 2015 survey. It was conducted in April of this year. We focused just in the United States, focused on over 400 organizations. I did want to split it. So part of the criteria, and again, I went ahead and had this done as a blind study, so nobody knew that it was HP doing the survey. But what you can see here is the results that I wanted was actually a split behind people who called themselves performance testers or performance engineers. I wanted that being half the people that responded. The other quarter I wanted is apps managers, and then the other quarter is ops managers. And I was really interested to see kind of what is the difference in those responses. We had a lot of results. So we had over 50 questions. Each one of these took about 15 minutes for people to answer. It was all done online. But then we also had the opportunity to interview a few people afterwards. There's some key themes and trends that I wanted to highlight for you today. But again, this results piece, I've got over 60 slides showing it. I've got all the raw data, and I've done all kinds of analysis on it to see the correlation bits. However, the state of performance engineering now, so for me, 70% of the people that were surveyed, so out of the 400, that they agreed that performance engineering is increasing in importance today. So again, being that we're at velocity, being that we are performance engineers, for me, I was like, yeah, people are finally getting what we've been talking about for years. 70% of them saying that. So I also wanted to show you the next kind of breakdown. And if you look at the bar that goes across the top here, these are all those performance engineers and performance testers. So these would be people like I would relate to. Ironically, only 63% of them agreed with this statement. Surprisingly, if you look down at the app dev managers and the ops managers, they're at 75 and 79%. So these apps and ops managers are actually agreeing more that there's an increasing need for performance engineering. So what is this role and the impact? So 50% of those surveyed said that their sites, their systems, are suffering significant outages as it relates to increased traffic on their pages, their sites, and their core banking systems. 50%. To me, that's pathetic. That 50% of our customers are still suffering significantly because of traffic. We should be able to do better and figure these pieces out. The other number that I wanted to share with you as it would relate to this is $5 million plus per hour. That's a lot of money. I know we've all worked on all kinds of really cool systems, but $5 million per hour is the average cost to an enterprise organization for any slowness or outage that they experience. And again, this was all based on this survey. So again, as I would think about this, is this a trend that we're having, or is it a need that we're having? I would suggest that based on these results, it's a need today. Also, we the people have spoken as it relates to proven practices. So greater than 70% use cloud-based load testing tools. I was kind of shocked. Greater than 70% using cloud-based, really? Okay. 65% of those using enterprise and hybrid tools. Seems to make sense to me, but again, 70% seems to be a very large number. But again, these are the results from that study. My last question for you guys is, where the hell are you? And this is one that I use with my friends all the time. I'm waiting for that app to be available, but where the hell are you? So as you think about things like this, using load testing cloud tools, as you think about, the 65% that are using enterprise and hybrid tools, where are you in your organizations? So what? I was asking in the back, hey, do you guys have a couch? Because, again, it's time to get up and do something. It's not a fantasy. The future's now. We need to start designing for speed. How are you helping your organization and their culture be those of performance engineering? I also wanted to provide you with some resources that you can use today. You can see that there's a survey summary that we're going to be publishing very shortly. There's also a book that we're working on, this bit.ly link. If you take that down, the bit.ly run test now, take about 30 seconds. You'll get results emailed to you in less than 5 minutes. And then also a number of other links here. That's everything that I've got. Thank you very much for your time. I look forward to seeing you guys around the show.